And by the way, that's original sin, pride, and it's the sin that God said He hates the most. It's not homosexuality. It's not murder. It's not I hate pride. Why? Because every single sin comes from pride.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Stand Up Dude podcast. I'm Stuart White along with
Tim Basagno.
And today we are here to have fun, to laugh, and we have a pretty great guest we want to introduce you to.
I'll say.
Pretty darn good.
I'm shocked I showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm so happy about it.
So good.
So good.
So good. Well, so he is a man who New Yorker magazine, not known for its conservative views, has called God's comic. So
I like
he's a comedian. He is political firebrand. I don't know if that's okay to say.
Firebrand.
I like that. I don't.
Genius.
I think firebrand. Genius is also really
something
good.
that's said a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the greatest men that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Well, I did have that in my notes, but you're rushing ahead.
I see that brooding in most conversations about you.
It gets old.
Yeah, it's good.
You get tired of it?
I actually have people that begin to bow in my presence. I say, I'm just a man like you.
I'm just a man.
I'll have to tell them, I'm just a man
The glow
like
is
you.
fading.
So I'm just saying what I've dealt with. It has nothing to do with my ego or my pride.
Really,
right,
just
nothing.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
If you haven't caught on
if
yet,
you need to be healed, just get in my shadow. You'll be fine.
Can I
just lay in? Just throwing that
touch
out.
your...
it's so good.
You can't touch me.
The
tassel.
Please don't touch me.
Let's.
We talked about
now,
touching the tassel.
Yeah, I don't think we can go there with that.
I'm tassel
We
free.
better not.
Welcome to the show, Brad Stine. I got to get your name out there just in case.
Oh, Brad Stine.
The rare person watching has no idea, but we know that doesn't actually exist. So, but yeah, welcome to Stand Up Dude podcast.
I'm here over court order. So
Yeah,
it's nothing
it's
I
true.
tried. Trust me. This
You
is
promised
not
you weren't going to mention that.
Not my idea. I can tell you right
1
here
hour
now.
pass, right?
But
So, Brad,
yes.
our show is primarily geared toward men ages.
Now they didn't tell me.
I know.
I thought this was about
18
cats.
to 48.
So to me, this was all about cats.
So you got all your notes
the
are on
love
cats.
Of cats.
Let's see if they
Lots of
translate.
So I got to put my cats away.
Yeah.
Because I've been misled clearly by my publicist.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's heads are going to roll.
A darn publicist.
It's so good.
Golly,
Okay,
man.
so it's about men.
Yeah.
Masculinity. Living in a world where right now men they tend to push us to be silent.
Who does?
To be soft.
Who does
Culture.
They.
Who's
The
they?
infamous they.
They, them, or just
But
they?
Yeah.
Can
We're
you give
getting
me
rid
the
of those,
exact-
evidently, which is very nice.
You're right.
Yeah.
And they can take the cats while they're leaving.
Yeah, take those cats. Take them. So, but we want to fight back. And one of the ways I know we can fight back is
Swords?
with laughter. Swords and
Firearms?
laughter. If you have a foam sword, laughter
Projectiles?
usually comes along with
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I'm ready to fight back. Let's go. Let's do it.
It's so good.
Okay. I'm shocked at
Let's
that.
blow
Brad.
something up.
Shocked. Really?
Yeah,
Let's
man.
do it. Let's
That's a
do
guy
it.
thing.
I'm glad
Yeah.
I
We
got
just
your
love
cell
things to blow
phone.
up.
It's gonna
I don't
be the
know.
whole
Jeez.
quote from this
Especially
episode.
if it's somebody
actually.
else's stuff. Then it's hysterical.
Yeah.
As
We'll
long
help
as
him
I'm
out. We'll
fine.
ask him if it's insured first. Well,
Amen.
Anyway.
We're making some
I
progress
said
here.
amen.
It's good.
Okay, all
It's
right,
really good.
All right.
So, Brad, I want to start with kind of your journey into
I would
comedy.
rather you start with the fourth question first. Can you do that? I just like to mix it up, and it's so obvious what the first
I mean,
question
the fourth quarter
The
is the
first
important,
question-
quarter
Isn't
in
it?
the game
Yeah,
anyway.
let's
I
give them the
anticipated
ending.
this,
Yeah,
though.
give me the
Really
last
all
I
that
one.
made the
matters.
fourth question the first one.
Completely mix it up. And I want all of this in Aramaic. I should have mentioned that. I only do my interviews in Aramaic.
This
I
is
do a
so
little
good.
Greek, but not a lot.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So well, I love.
Unless you believe in parallel universes. I might be doing this podcast somewhere else right now. In
a
another
lot.
dimension,
Like a
another
hologram?
realm, an unseen realm.
Yeah. Well,
Who knows?
now we just went into
This
an entirely
podcast
different
may go
podcast.
unseen,
We-
so
we went full Michael Heiser.
We did.
completely lines
Full
up.
Michael Heiser.
Okay.
I was just gonna, just letting the audience know.
Spit it out.
Speaking of men, thank you.
There's
And you can
anytime.
You can do that anytime.
He's using too many words in a row.
Too many. Reel 'em in. Reel 'em in.
repeated words. So the man that loved to can bench press and love Jesus all at the same time and create snort laughs is something that I am excited to see today. As a matter of fact, we've already seen it here today.
Or heard it, depending on where. If you're just a listener, unless you're deaf, then this thing has wasted their time. Actually, they tuned in and realized, why am I listening? I can't hear. So you got to be careful about those people. This is not for the Helen Kellers that are still out there.
You could be like me, where you watch it with just the subtitles, but no sound too.
Or maybe you're practicing lip reading.
Yeah, lip
That's
reading.
Something you don't get a lot of options.
It's actually a way to train that skill.
See.
That's it. I just liked that I saw something where he said something about bench pressing and Jesus. I'm like, that's cool.
Who did?
Well, I don't know. I saw it somewhere.
Did.
Okay, while we're on the subject of seeing things,
yes.
I saw a picture of you that had some pictures of some mounts, some like safari heads of like antelope and stuff. Okay. Where was that? Because do you hunt? That's where I'm getting to.
I don't really hunt that much.
Okay.
I killed them with my bare hands.
Oh, spears?
I wrestled the elk to the ground. It was I think there was a hedgehog. There was lions. But I felt like if you aren't man enough, to go after wild game without a weapon, perhaps you need to stay at home and just cook. So no, that was actually a photo shoot. It
looks great.
And it was shot somewhere. I'm trying to remember where. It might have been, I think it was at a tattoo parlor, believe it or not.
No way.
It had all kinds of odd and interesting
things.
Clearly, interesting things. So it was a photo shoot for my album, Unapologetical.
Okay.
That came out a few years ago. So that's where that came about. And we just saw, they were there, and it was a photo shoot, and it was like, that might make for an interesting background. And clearly it did. My hope was someday to end up on a podcast, and here we are. So I think my prescience has come home to roost.
Yes.
And when I speak of roost, I speak of hens, chickens, all of which I eat or capture. So we've come full circle to the hunting and the game. Yeah.
Yes. Hey,
what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing.
I see.
I just want to know: do you hunt? And if so,
I don't hunt.
I'm glad I got your cell phone.
I'm not anti-hunt,
right?
But I don't for one main reason. I don't like to be cold. It seems like every time people hunt, they go, you know what we do is we get up at 3 a.m.
Right.
Really? Yeah.
That's
It's November. And then we go up to the hills. Okay. And then we go up through the snow and we get into these blinds and then we sit and we wait to see if some animal shows. It's like zero. Oh, yeah, well, that's part of the fun. Not for me.
No, not for me.
So what I'm going to have you do is you go do that. You kill it. You eat it. You skin it. You tan it. Get me the meat. Cook it up. Bring it to me, and I'll indulge. But I'm not doing that part. No. Because I don't want to get cold.
Yeah.
So I'm not good with cold.
Cold's not the greatest.
So, no, I mean, honestly, I don't. I think it probably would be fun, honestly. I mean, I guess. I don't like to get cold. Don't like to get up early.
Right. I was going to say, is that...
Now, I like shooting guns, and I like doing stuff like that, but I think but I really believe that hunting is something that's passed on in a family tradition.
Yeah, okay.
Your dad hunted, so he took you, that was your guy.
Bonding.
Your dad-son kind of bond thing, And if you don't do that, maybe it was sports, and you went out and threw the baseball together, football, whatever, or Frisbee, if you're from Berkeley. So I think that, a lot of times things like that are passed on. And my dad didn't hunt, so I didn't really grow up hunting, and I was born in Indiana, so Midwest, so there were certainly plenty of hunters. It just wasn't something that we did, so I didn't really ever get into it. Right. So I was trying to make sure that answer took as long as possible. I think we're into 3 minutes. All I had to say was no, but I didn't.
Hey, that's a cool photo
let's elaborate.
Shoot.
Let's go deeper.
Shoot.
Yeah.
We just split it into like 6 episodes.
We did. I think you got a question.
Well, so I know one of the things, our big thing with the show is getting truth to the men that we are speaking to. Not all of them want to receive it.
Who are the men you're speaking to?
We are speaking to men ages about 18 through to 48 years old.
And so they sit around at the computer waiting for you guys to show up so they can hear your wisdom and be engulfed in your depth.
Fountain where they're all waiting for the waters to stir.
And they have no one to put them into the water by the time
Uber Eats delivers, so they don't have to...
the YouTube version of that.
They don't have to cook. It's just great.
But so I know something you've said is comedy is it really is truth told through the lens of humor. And how is it that you can communicate truth? I mean, obviously, I know it's something that in comedy, what is funny about it is that there's truth behind it, and it's a way of saying it. It's a way of pointing something out.
It's the only way it's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
What would be funny if I said to you, these two Martians were walking down the street? It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it doesn't
I don't
mean
even know what
anything.
you're
It's
talking
unrelatable.
about.
Yeah.
So, what makes it funny is it's truthful. It
Yeah.
deals with reality. What the comic has that you don't is a heightened sense of humor. Now, people think that, and they use the term sense of humor like it's synonymous with you laugh or you find things funny. And we use it in that way. Oh, he's got a great sense of humor. He laughs at my jokes or whatever. I don't think that's what it means. I think it means exactly what it said. You have a heightened sense of humor, that we all have the ability to laugh because we do, and it's natural. Nobody has to say, hey, did you see that guy fall through that manhole? Laugh.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was
No,
funny.
it just comes out of you naturally because God said we're made in his image. So all the attributes of the human comes from God's essence, from his identity. Now, of course, we have fallen, so there's a lot of sin and there's distortion of how God is. So clearly, perhaps he doesn't laugh when the guy falls through the manhole like we do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm grateful that we get to laugh at the guy falling through the manhole because it's funny.
Yeah.
But my point is that it's natural, right? There seems to be things that when they're incongruous to how we think the world's supposed to work, we laugh. It's almost a way of saying that shouldn't happen, or that's not supposed to be happen, or it didn't, or what is it, Schadenfreude? It didn't happen to me, so I'm going to laugh. So it's kind of like this sort of odd projection of, oh, I'm glad that wasn't me. But the sense of humor is, I believe, like a sense: eyes, ears, nose, throat. Because there's more than the five senses.
Yeah.
We know we have a sense of warmth, we have a sense of balance. So there's all these other nuances, but they really come back to or reference the five senses we're used to. So if I say I have a sense of it's warm here or cool, it kind of is referencing touch.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not touching the heat, I'm sensing it because of the largest organ in your body is your skin.
Yeah.
So a sense of humor is the ability to find funny where others don't. And the reason we do that is because we don't allow life to pass us by without analyzing it. You don't. If I walked in here and shook your hand, nice to meet you, you'd go, nice to meet you, and that would be that. Comic would go, nice to wonder why we grab each other's hands when we do, and why do we move in them? Can't we just hold them? That they have to be moved? And why couldn't I have used my leg? Or what if I was to use my elbow? Suddenly, we start breaking down the way that the conventions of life and the human interactions, and just are curious about it. Why do we do that? Why do we not do that? How come that happens? Why doesn't that happen? And so for whatever reason, we just enjoy finding the funny where others didn't know it existed. That's why I'm much more of an advocate of clean comedy, and I've always been clean as in I don't use curse words, I don't do sexual jokes or whatever.
I think it's smarter. In my opinion, dirty comedy is a little bit more lazy. I think smart comedy is work. But maybe not to you, but to
no,
me,
it is. You have to be careful because some great comics used a lot of curse words. So you can't just say, okay, because Richard Pryor cursed, obviously he's not funny. Well,
with the mask,
no, he is. So they still can be. Now, there is definitely a lazy man's way to do humor by using curse words or sexual jokes. True enough, that there can be guys that will rely on that instead of more a sophisticated take. But I just want to be careful not presuming that because they curse, they must not be deep, because that's not necessarily true.
I hear
by
you.
the same token, there's not a professional stand-up comedy in the world that wouldn't agree it's harder to write clean than dirty. That's obvious. So they do understand that that is a harder use of the art form, and it is. It's a performance art, and it's harder to write clean. And the point is this: if I talked about, hey, effing this and effing that, it's so funny, he's breaking taboos, always pushing the envelope, whatever. And so it's kind of a cheat. It's kind of a cheat to get somewhere, right?
Okay.
But it's not original because everybody has access to that word.
They do.
Everybody can use it. So it's kind of like a stock material. But if I can make you laugh with a piece of toast or a Post-it note or a table, and I find something funny about a table that I didn't even think of that, or I've thought of that. But I've never sort of broke it down.
And then you bring it out.
You put words
oh,
to
that's
something I
clever.
thought.
I've thought of that, but I let it pass by, not you.
Yeah, not
you
you.
leveraged it.
Right.
You even got paid for it. So that's really the sophisticated part. So to me,
Interesting.
and I heard Jerry Seinfeld say this once, who was always pretty clean. He once in a while he'll use curse words, but for the most part, he's straight ahead clean. But he said, I thought it made for a more interesting game, and I like that frame because it is. It's a game. Can I figure out how to make somebody laugh about me discussing a road sign or frustration at traffic jam or whatever? I find the funny there.
Okay.
That's the game. I found funny, and you didn't even know it existed there. I found it. I dug it out.
Love
you didn't
that.
know. You gave up.
That's
I
the
kept.
genius part.
I kept
You were
going, and there was
joking
gold
about,
in there.
which is not a
You
joke.
gave up, or you didn't have the wherewithal to do it because you're not gifted at that, and not everybody is. You pay to see a comic because you can't do that. I pay a mechanic to fix my engine because I can't do that. And when he finishes his 8-hour day, he can come over and watch me, and I'll bring some joy and laughter, and we're all participating in the human journey together.
Yeah.
So it's community.
So you started in
Thank
comedy.
you.
Did you get into it initially thinking I want to be a clean comic, or was that something that just you segued into?
Clean had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I was my worldview as a Christ follower. I just my nomenclature doesn't include cursing. Of course, I've cursed in my life. Of course, it could still pop out every now and again in maybe a daily life. But for the most part, it's not the way I talk.
Yeah.
So it would have been inconsistent with the way I communicate anyways.
Yeah.
So I didn't sit there and say, I want to be a clean comic. That would be natural. As a believer, I can't not think, how am I going to be perceived in the way that I communicate to people? It's just automatically there.
That makes sense.
So it kind of was automatic that's the way I would deliver it. But again, made it more fun.
Yeah.
For me, as an artist, it's like, okay, this guy's saying F this, F that, this thing, that thing, sex thing, blah, 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 laugh, laugh, laugh. And I'm going, okay, I don't get that word. Okay, I don't get that topic. Okay, I don't get that. I don't get that. And that brings a lot of energy to the room, and it defines the room. It helps create the room. Oh, we're going to use these words. Oh, we're going to talk like this. Oh, we're going to push this envelope. Suddenly I get on stage. I got to shift gears. I don't do that. But he created an audience that thinks this is coming.
Man,
so I
that's
got
a
to fix.
shift.
I got to fix that.
Gotta fix it.
And and as
That's
the
a big one.
headliner, I don't get to go. Hey man, don't say that. Don't say. And I was very cognizant of. See, there's a decorum in stand-up comedy that goes with the pecking order of where you are. There's the opener, the feature, and the headliner. That's usually what has been created for the way stand-up comedy show is done. The opening act does 10 minutes, maybe 15. Feature act usually did 30, 35. Headliner would do 45, maybe to an hour, depending on the club and the show. And so that kind of became the formula as to how a comedy night ran in a comedy club. Yeah. So now there's a reality that if you're funny, you're probably going to find funny in the same place that somebody else found funny, because that's what you do. So you might have a joke about airplane travel or whatever. Most comics did, because we referenced something that is part of our life. And so when you travel a lot, you talk about, you ever been on that airplane? Because we keep seeing this thing happen over and over again. Well, so it could be very likely the guy before you has an airplane joke or whatever, and it's called parallel development. You come up with something funny that you observed, and it's in the same. It's in the same category. So people say, "Oh, you stole that joke." People will say that about me, like, "Oh, you're copying so and so." It's like, no, I'm copying them if I do their joke.
Yeah.
That's one
But
thing.
if you talk about airplanes,
that's a whole different realm. If I'm literally word for word taking the joke, then I'm stealing from them. If I'm doing something in the same category. Mm-hmm. That's just all. That's all bets are off, man. That's what. That's like saying somebody made a Western movie. You can't make a Western movie. Somebody made one.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I'm talking about the genre of a particular topic space. So, but you can theoretically, if you're the headliner or the closing act, you've got the prestige. So if a guy does a bit about, whatever it is. Getting on a bus, and I got a bit about a bus. I can go up and say, I don't want you to do your bus joke. I do a bus joke. Mm-hmm. You can theoretically go up, I don't want you to curse. Some of the dirtiest comics, some of the dirtiest guys would go to the guy in front and say, I don't want you to use a lot of those curse words.
Yeah,
I want to
use
keep them for himself.
No doubt.
Really?
I want those for me.
Yeah, it's like the volume that goes up for the last band. They increase the lights and they increase the volume, and all of a sudden, this is the greatest band in the world.
And they use that, sometimes they use the particular epithet for the shock value to get the powerful boom. Mm-hmm. Listen, when I was doing comedy in the clubs all those years, I was a Christian, I was clean, so, and I had numerous times over the years, like, a guy would come up to me, watch my act, and go, I was thinking about getting clean. I've been thinking about cleaning up I never told them to clean them. But they watch you being clean, and they're going, that's so hard. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little lazy, I'm not working hard. And you know what I would tell them? I'm a Christ follower. I'd say, here's the thing, man. Yeah, I would say try to clean just because it makes you better. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to curse, at least be strategic. Be smart. Don't use it all the time.
Don't waste it all.
Save it every now and again for a particular punchline you really want to blow the room apart with. Right. And that's that. At least be wise about it. I tried to be a technician and sort of walk them through, the art that we're both participating in and giving them my thoughts or whatever. But, my thing is, hey, I'm a Christian. I don't do those curse words. I do whatever. And that became my little witness to that group, of comedians that I came across, because oftentimes the club rented an apartment or a condo. Mm-hmm. So you would spend the week there. So there was decorum. Headliner gets the master bedroom. Feature act gets the next room. Usually, if the opener's in the same room, he's on the couch. I mean, it was it's a routine, man. It's a subculture.
Oh, yeah.
That you wouldn't know, and maybe bands have same kind of weird things or whatever. So so there's all this decorum that you learn about how this works. And the whole point of that backstory, other than maybe it's interesting to people to hear how comedy works on the inside, I never would go to a guy and say, don't do that, even if it was similar, ever. Because I felt like if you're the headliner, I should be able to follow, that's me, I should be able to follow anybody. It's if I can't
You're
follow...
daggum Hank Aaron.
If I can't follow... You
can't tell the pitcher to not throw, that pitch.
If I can't follow, then bet on me. I shouldn't be closing the show.
Oh, boy.
And I also enjoyed saying, I'm about to do a joke that was similar, same topic, but I'm going to show... Where do you get a load of my version?
Where do you hear my airplane joke?
I take this to... Yeah.
Man.
So that was my own personal... sense of raising the bar for me.
Right.
I'm an artist. I enjoyed the challenge of it. And so that's kind of how I ended up doing it the way I did. So that was a 10-minute answer to a very simple question. Hey. And now you know where the genius comes from. I'm shocked. I listen to my own response and go, that guy's good.
Man, that guy's good.
So I could learn so much from him.
I could. Look what's coming.
That is something, though, I have found, and I think I like comedy for the fact that there is this intellectual side of it that is very subdued. Yeah, like your stuff, especially, you have a way of thinking and being quick on your feet.
I hope
and,
so.
And having
that's what
something
I want to be.
Yeah, you're figuring out. I think it's so much of that is the timing and everything, and being able to be that person who has that genius moment, if you will. If you're a genius at comedy, it's so valuable. I wanted to jump into something here. You mentioned it earlier, your faith, that you have a Christian worldview. Somewhere along the way, you went into having kind of a ministry side of your journey here. So can you talk a bit about that? Tim, did you have something you wanted to?
No, you said it great. I was just going to throw in there the kind of the difference between, is there a line for you? And I'm imagining there might not be, which is also beautiful. A line between preaching and punchlines, because you kind of do both. And would you just talk about that? When you transitioned from more from one to the next, and was there a line? Did you just combine them? How does that apply to you today?
Well, what I do today is way different than what I did years ago when I was in the comedy clubs. I was always clean, and I would have jokes that might reference biblical things. Like I had a joke about Adam and Eve, and you just make this, but it's a reference point that anybody could.
That one's on YouTube. It's got like
everything I got.
Couple million.
It's all on YouTube now.
Should we play that?
We could throw an Adam and Eve clip.
Okay,
we'll put it right here.
Right here.
All right, you just watched that clip.
Yeah, and the big news is they have to pay me copyright
every single time.
Royalties on that
Every
too. So
single
that's why I said just keep playing them.
That we're gonna keep.
Cha-ching is all I'm saying.
8-hour episode.
I could have swore somewhere down the road there was a question. I'd
A
forgotten
line
what it was.
between punchline and preaching.
Okay.
Does that exist
okay.
for you?
So, okay. So I made this statement years ago. And the statement I made to people was, somebody was said to me, that's kind of in a different way, but they said this. Do you consider yourself more of a comic or a preacher? That was the question. And my response was, yes. How come if I talk about the way I see the world, I'm a preacher, but if Chris Rock does it, he's a social commentator? Don't you understand? Everybody preaches. Everybody has a point of view that they want you to agree with. That's preaching. That's what it means. But when I do it, because it does have a particular reference to a specific philosophical reality, which is Jesus Christ was God. Nobody else has ever pulled that one off. So it gives him a little status.
Just a little.
little upside.
Yeah.
But when somebody else does it with a secular point of view, well, that's just commentary. So I'm doing the same thing, but yeah, I have a very specific point of view that is very, very much contained within a precise ideology. True enough. But you're a Westerner. Every specific moral foundational view that you think is obvious and self-apparent comes from my people. It's Christian.
Yeah.
And you don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's become so ingrained in the fabric of the way we see the world as Westerners that you don't even realize that's Christian. It isn't normal to not kill a baby. Okay, it was called exposure to the Romans. They have a baby, they don't want it, they just left it out on the side of the road, threw it in a latrine. There was no human rights. It literally they didn't think of it like that. It's like throwing a puppy away or something. You didn't think about it. Yeah. Christianity said this is immoral because we're all made in the image of God. Nobody never thought of that. That one idea, which by the way started with the Judaism, Jews, first, but because Christianity is simply a culmination of Judaism played out to the end, where Messiah shows up, the monotheistic God that says you're made in my image had never existed in human history. It was all polytheism, and stars are God, and sun's God, and the rain God, and the Debbie God, and it was all this crazy. Everything was about basically crops and stuff and trying to survive because it was hard to survive. When this guy came in and said, you're made in God's image, so you are sacred.
Yeah.
suddenly the ability for human rights came into existence. It never existed before. You have special rights because you exist. You have a right as a woman because you exist and you were made in the image of God. He made them male, female, and he made them in his image, like both of them.
Yeah.
So this is 6,000 years ago. There is no women get equal. That wasn't even. You got to be kidding me. That wasn't in the picture. It was then. So it changed the world.
Yeah.
And so I try to bring dignity to my point of view, and because I have a difficulty with people who mock and ridicule my God, who wouldn't, but also especially when you aren't grateful for what you have been given and you don't even respect it. It just bothers me, and I think it's depending on how you respond to it. It can either be brutish and angry and seeking a revenge or a punishment, and that's forbidden for me as a Christian. I hate that. I want to be able to beat you. I want to be able to beat you with a bat. Not allowed.
I don't get to.
But if it is referencing reality and truth and so forth, and a deep abhorrence to immorality or whatever, God, that is anger that is actually not only approved but is good, and it's called righteous indignation, and it's given to us because the Bible says, "Be angry, sin not."
Yeah.
How do you do that? With righteous indignation. It's in the form of righteousness as God sees the world. So I'm forbidden to hate people.
Yeah.
I'm commanded to hate ideas that are not God's. And that's the difference, and that makes all the difference. So to the progressive, and make it very clear to you, progressivism is not a philosophy or political persuasion, even though they think it is. It's a religion. It is a secular, humanistic.
It's their full belief system.
Religion to take the place of the Judeo-Christian religion. So they don't have, if you haven't noticed, the edict to love your enemy. They get to hate their enemy. They get to cancel their enemy. They get to imprison their enemy. They get to censor their enemy. They get to shut up their enemy.
Yeah.
It's very much Marxist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is atheist. And I'm not given that permission. That's why they attack Christians and pretty much leave Muslims alone, because Muslims aren't given that edict. They're allowed to defend their God in whatever means necessary. Christians aren't. And I want to. But God knew my nature, and he said, I can't let you because you will go on unhinged. I need you to behave in a way that is so counterintuitive to the human condition that people can't ignore you. Who are you? What are you? Why do you act like that? This doesn't make any sense. Love your enemy. What? No, you don't love your enemy. That's ridiculous. Pray for those that despitefully use you. No. Pray for those who love me. Pray for those who take care of me. Pray for those who are my friends. Pray for those that help me. That makes sense. That despitefully use me, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. Right. It's not natural to do that. And it isn't. He says, no, I know. See, I'm trying to teach you to live the supernatural naturally. You have been redeemed internally by your spirit, and you spend the rest of your life trying to get your flesh to catch up. It never will, but you're supposed to put it into the mill to begin to grind towards that place. Right. And that's what your job is. Why has that been so lost in the American church? I always reference the American church, not the rest of them, because we didn't go through the persecution that most of our people do around the world. So we don't sense the depth of the cost, because it didn't cost us anything. Because it didn't cost us anything. Right. And so God had to sort of release that protection and said, you're going to have to start feeling what this costs, because you're taking it for granted. You're not grateful for it. But I reference the American church and how so much of it has become heretical. So many denominations that have walked away from original classic apologetics. The Episcopalians, branches of Method. I mean, they're heretics. It's heresy. Okay. Why? Because they want to use the moniker Christian and use one side of it, Jesus loves.
Mm.
And that is a part of Jesus, but it's out of balance. Because if somebody says you love, Jesus loves, or God loves you, you have to say that's true. But before we go further, to make sure we're using the same word with the same definition, define your terms. What does love mean? I need to know so we make sure that we're not talking around each other using the same word.
Right.
Well, love means you love people just the way they are. Oh, well, God doesn't.
Loves them too much to keep them.
To leave them where they
there.
are. Yeah.
That's what I've
If
heard.
he loved you just the way you were, there would have been no crucifixion.
Yeah.
I don't need to save you from anything.
Yeah.
I love you just the way you are.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'll die for you just the way you are
Yeah.
because it's taking you to hell.
Yeah.
Righto,
It's a
dude.
critical point. Critical.
So I can't love you that way because my love is richer than yours. Your love isn't love, it's license. Have you noticed that all the progressives and the deconstructionists usually always has a reference point to sex? Why is it always
always comes back to
usually
that.
about who they want to have sex with, or how they want the license to have sex, or who they want to defend who has sex in a different way?
Or the results
now, it's
of
not
sex,
always
I'll
that way,
keep it, I
but
won't
there's
keep
something
it.
about
Yeah.
that
It's
somehow
that
always ends up back
behavioral
there.
element that seems to always crop up to be the catalyst to draw people to something else. That is the license for a corruption of the way God designed the world to be. We were designed to procreate. And that can only happen through male-female sexual union. We literally make another human.
Yeah.
We are procreating. He started the ball. We couldn't have done it without the materials he gave us. So he is the unmoved mover. He is the natural first exister. He's always been here, right? He is non-contingent. We are. He's necessary. If we're talking philosophy.
Yeah.
But we are supposed to go forth and do it in the realm, in the perimeters he's created for us.
Yeah.
So we find ourselves wanting the what happens in the joy of the sexual experience, which is part of the union of creating us psychologically, mentally, and spiritually to be connected. It's really designed that way. There's certain hormones and so forth that go off in our brains that creates an actual connection to us because it's spiritual, it's deep, it's sacred. And these people do things that cannot procreate. So it's a abuse of the sacred.
Yeah.
And a destruction of the sacred. But you know why? Because the Christian church, for the most part, not all of them, but in America, got lazy and continued to try to promote people becoming Christians.
Okay. Instead of...
We were never called to be Christians. We were called to be disciples. Christianity is easy.
Yeah. It's just a checkbox.
Christianity is easy because I don't have to do anything. Jesus does.
Yeah.
I'll die for you. Can I get to heaven? Nope. You're going to have to take my key. I did the work. Take me. Oh, I'm a Christian. That was easy because he did the work. The hard part is the next step that spends the rest of your life, if you're doing what he asked, becoming a disciple from the word discipline, which sucks because it's hard. Suddenly you take it literally. What he told you happens to you when you become one of ours, and I expect you to not even become one of mine unless you count the costs. And we don't. We don't count the costs. We want it superficial and simple. He said, no. A true believer is crucified. A true believer is a slave. A true believer is dead. Who wants to be any of that stuff?
Yeah. It's a
I just want to be
difficult
alive in
recruiting
Christ.
campaign.
I accepted Jesus.
Yeah.
No, you redeemed your soul, but your flesh is still here. Hang on. We got a lot of work to do, and it's going to hurt. That is what it means to be a disciple. And that's what Jesus said. Go into the world and make disciples. We've kept it superficial, and that's why it is collapsing in America.
Difference of converts and disciples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my call, by the way. You talked about, when are you... I didn't even answer your question. I got off on a sidetracked in the weeds, but maybe God needed that to be said. But you were asking me about that. About, when I'm on stage, and I was talking about, preaching or whatever. What happened to me was when I started working in the churches, I started adding elements of my faith to it because I'm with my people. It's like, I'll throw in some stuff. If all I did was plumber conventions, I'd have plumber jokes. I'd have plumber references. Hey, those monkey wrenches, huh? Aren't they crazy? But I'm a Christian, so I was with Christians, so I said, well, let's talk about Christian. And they would laugh, and they'd laugh, and I'm used to people laughing. That wasn't a big deal. I'm glad they're laughing. Yeah. But suddenly I would say something poignant, something deeper, something that had some spiritual significance, and I'd see the people just... And there was this countenance shift, and they'd become something else. And in my mind, I'm going, oh, they're not laughing. They're just, but it's like, but I have to say this thing. I have to say this thing. It'd be a lot better if you didn't say this thing. You'd make a lot more money. You'd make a lot more money. You'd be a lot more famous. If you don't tell people you're a Christian conservative comic, if you don't do that, you might make it on the Tonight Show. You might get your own sitcom. You might get a Netflix special. But if you go take this leap and say, this is how I see the world, and I'm not going to apologize for it, it's going to destroy your mainstream career. You understand that? Okay, well, then how do I not do that? Well, just make them laugh. Just make them laugh. But God, there's these things I have to say.
Man.
Oh, you're anointed. This is what a prophetic voice means. It's not I'm saying the hard things. I have to. Oh, this is what I was called to do. Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for that. He said, I didn't ask you what you signed up for. I told you, if you accept my son's sacrifice, I expect everything. So either get cold and go to hell, but at least you're not abusing my son, or get all in. But if you're going to stick in the middle, I'm not interested. You make me puke. That's the discipline that's lost in this nation and around the world, and that's what men were supposed to be the leaders of, by being that guy. That guy changes families and worlds and creates continents and First Amendment rights and freedoms and justice and mercy and defends the innocent. That all comes from an actual disciple, not from a superficial Christian that rests in grace given to him and never thinks it should cost him a cent. That isn't Christianity. So I started speaking these things. Changed everything. I had to do it. Okay. And I kind of ended up, so even if I go back to a club nowadays, like I don't know if you all came to see that other show I did when I'm making my next album, but
what is this? What is this?
This is called Laugh While It's Legal.
Laugh While It's Legal.
Yeah, it's my next album.
Latest.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, my
Is it out
point
now?
is, not yet. It should come out in February, I'm hoping.
February of 2025.
Yeah. And so, if I'm in a club now, I will say my stuff. But if I go to a club now, I go in with them understanding this is what I do. You need to understand this is my constituency of Christians and conservatives and patriots. That's who comes to see me. So if that's what you want, let's go do a night. We'll do a thing. You'll still get your money for all the liquor they drink, even though it's not going to be as much as you used to. But they'll eat nachos, and and they'll laugh. But this is and they don't care. They're just making money. It's like, oh, okay, this guy has his own little fan base. Come on in, and that's what I do. So I'll do it there. But I wouldn't have done it in clubs. But I would have said jokes about biblical references and so forth, which is no different than Jim Gaffigan saying, I'm a Catholic, and here's what's funny. And, or somebody else saying, I grew up in the church, or I was a LDS, or I'm gay, or what. It's just referencing it as though I don't expect you to take this seriously. I'm just sort of
just throwing it out
talking about something about me, but don't worry, I'm not here to proselytize. And I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it puts me in a different category.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I did become, I believe it's a prophetic voice to the church that he called me to, because God taught me. I thought my gift was comedy. It's not.
Okay.
My gift is communication.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor it comes in
It's funny.
is funny. It's the delivery system. It's the delivery system.
Yeah.
I was confused by my own skill set because it's a gift. Have you ever thought of that? Somebody says, oh,
You were
it's a
confused. Wait, you were confused by your delivery system?
Yeah, because what happens is it's why God hesitates in giving us blessings.
Okay.
Loves to give us blessings. Hesitates. Because so often we get a blessing and we worship it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, here they go again. Oh,
Here we go again.
God Almighty, I got you out of Egypt, and you worshipped the
Stupid
new
cow.
land and the new thing, but I'm a little upset that there's not water, and sure could use some food. And they start longing for the old world, and they make cattle idols
Golden
and
calf,
whatever. And they start doubting because they want it comfortable. That's your biggest detriment to your faith being robust, is if you want it comfortable. That should be an indication you're not doing it right. Because if you're comfortable, it means one thing: you're not moving.
Yeah.
See, when you're moving, it's not comfortable. If you're walking uphill,
Movement
it's
takes
hard.
calories.
When
Movement
God
takes
made
breath.
the Eden,
Energy, food, and sweat.
when he
pain.
created Eden, the beginning, they had everything they needed. Here's your food, here's animals, here's your atmosphere, here's water, here's thing. You're together so you can make more people. You know what he didn't make? A hammock. It was perfect pre-sin, and he said, now go to work.
Work wasn't a curse.
Wait a minute, don't I get to relax? No, but I haven't sinned yet. We don't have weeds yet, even for me to
I
pull.
don't even have weeds. There's no thorns
there's
on
nothing
these
for me to
roses.
sweat. He goes, no. I'm not doing this for you. I will assist you, but I didn't create you so that I could wind you up.
Yeah.
I did this so we can work together and that I can walk with you in the cool of the day together and work together. Think about this. They ate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they ate
did.
food, was there feces?
Yeah. They're human.
But isn't that corrupt? Isn't that the death of food? Didn't the food die? The nutrients were removed, and then you had this decay? What about all the bugs? Did they just keep living? Were we
the animals?
supposed to live forever? Because if we never sinned and procreated and nobody ever died,
Then the world just has too many people.
it would sure
we'd be
seem like, now
crawling all over each other.
maybe we would have created technology where we could rocket people off. I don't know. We'll never know.
Right.
But it almost seems as though God saw this coming.
Yeah, he knew what was going to happen. Nothing surprises him.
Hey, when you said I'm not going to do this for you, okay, it was a reference to work. Like, dude, I'm wondering if he almost was like, I am going to do this for you. You may not work on your own. You may find the hammock and be there all day, but I'm going to give you purpose. I'm going to give you a job, and you may have not chosen that on your own, but I'm going to do this for you, human, because
Do
I
what
love
for
you.
you?
I'm going to give you work. I'm going to give you
Well, but that seems a little
Responsibility.
that seems a little I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Okay, I was just flipping
Well, you
saying
said-
I'm not
well,
gonna
when you-
do the work for you.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking he gave us work because we may have not chose it on our own. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to put this parameter
Do this as in
for
giving you something to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna gift Brad with this with this gift, and I'm going to do that in Brad. I'm going to do that.
But he's not doing. He's providing.
Providing.
Doing means he's doing the work. We
Yeah,
know.
I'm just kind of throwing it out as a
no,
gift.
and
Maybe a
I'm
gift
not
is a
trying to
better
even
word.
debate you. We're having a mental exercise or a spiritual exercise. But here's the thing: he gave us a term that indicates something that is pretty heavy. He said, "I want you to take dominion over this stuff." That means you are in control and have an authority by which you have to regulate and navigate this stuff that I've given you. So you have to wrangle things and you have to and maybe put up fences. I don't know what it meant, but to take dominion means to take authority over, which means you have things that you have to kind of control and keep in their proper place. So you have something
Be
to
in
do.
charge of.
It comes with
That's what I'm saying.
having
The doing
the
part.
stuff.
He gave us something to do.
Yeah.
Which
Well, what else would there be, right? And I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
God is mysterious.
Well, he could have laid on a hammock all day.
He could have,
And I think it's a gift.
but he didn't.
Yeah,
And
but
because
did
he
it.
didn't, that means there was something else. There was teleology clearly inculcated into our DNA.
Amen.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
God definitely
there was an end
put
game.
that in our heart. Like, our corrupt nature now turns work into a curse rather than seeing work as a blessing.
That's
and
it. Yeah.
like you said earlier, we worship the gift or the
that's right.
blessing rather than the creator who gave it to us.
But procreation means a continuousness or a continuing of an order set in a natural order put into launched into a rhythm, right? God kind of gave us all the stuff. He gave us the game. He said, now you have to start playing.
Yeah.
So take the dice, roll, and get your token. Start. I mean, there was something to do. Otherwise, I don't even know why we're here.
Yep.
I mean, that's another. I mean, I have this philosophical exercise that I've had that I'm really interested in bringing to a philosopher to help me see if there's a flaw in this.
Stu?
Hey, I'm not.
No, it's just something else. But but I would love to sort of bring it up to a professional philosopher.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe I'm missing something in this. It's another thing. Maybe it's for another episode.
Okay, hit me. What is it? Well, okay, maybe. Well, I would like that. We would very much love to have you back. By the way, if you want to hold that,
I can't agree to that. I feel like the more I'm around you guys, the more I realize
less-
you're Buddhists, aren't you?
Yeah,
This
that's
is
the
so
way.
Give it
obvious.
away.
Obviously,
There's a belly in
we're
there.
all shooting for nothingness. Is what we're trying to
Yeah,
make.
and we're
This
getting
is
there.
a podcast about nothing.
Yeah.
It's a Buddhist podcast.
What's funny when you were saying earlier about the worldviews and just everything that the way people are engaging with things, they are you're basically saying they're borrowing from what we've given them, which is this Christian culture, this influence that has happened. I literally see this all the time in our comments, where an idea, whatever the clip is that they're commenting on, and they never look at the context. They just go straight for whatever it is. And so it's like, okay, for one, there was context here. But two, the argument you just made totally assumes your result. Like, you assume that you're right because you disagree rather than you actually have an argument to make about this thing. So same thing. They're coming at it with like, well, my belief is that it's obviously wrong to kill somebody, or my belief. And it's like, but why is it? Like, that's philosophy
No, it
itself.
It is. Nothing is more frustrating, and frankly, honestly, and this doesn't sound Christ-ish, but it's almost, I think, worthless to try to debate internet atheists.
Oh yeah.
Because they
Pearls
can't
before
think.
swine kind of a
well,
thing.
they can't think, and I don't mean that in a pejorative.
Yeah, it's
I
not
mean
an
it
insult,
literally.
yeah.
They can't think, and the reason they can't think properly, and of course they think they're the ultimate thinkers. We just have reason around. That's all we do. Yeah. But and especially, I mentioned teleos earlier, teleology. They cannot grasp the idea of a meta-narrative. They can't grasp
meta-narrative.
Yeah. So if you were to say to them, and the reason I can assess this is because if you look, because there are some deep thinking, brilliant atheists.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
Bertrand Russells and Christopher Hitchens, and there were guys that were really good at it, that did understand philosophy. Yeah. They're interesting to talk to.
Yeah. They give you a run for your money, and
they do. And or there's a guy out now, a young kid named Alex O'Connor, who I gotta say, the more I listen to him, the more I really respect that he understands the challenges of his faith in atheism, and is able to articulate that. I've seen him in conversation with Richard Dawkins, and will make arguments against Dawkins. Dawkins sucks at philosophy so bad. Yeah. He's ignored, frankly, by atheist philosophers because he's so bad, or they're embarrassed. Yeah. The way he represents atheism. But he will, just in the conversation, to keep it dynamic, the guy will say something kind of superficial that most of the internet atheists will go, oh, God, he's ingenious. And this guy's going, yeah, but, and the guy will be like flubbing around, because he understands the flaw in the philosophy, because he understands logic and reason. Yeah. There's a flaw here, so let's really get to reality here. Yeah. So I give him credit that he is able to articulate that, and literally will take, I don't think he's trying to do this, but he's taking the side of a theist just to make for a more robust conversation, and the guy is sucks at it. Most of these atheists, internet guys, that's all I'm talking about, the trolls, they just cut and paste something, they read from Dawkins, throw it out there, and think they did something hysterical and deep. You always know also, if it's ever predicated on an insult, ignore it. They're not thinking. If it's an ad hominem attack, why am I having a conversation? Yeah. You don't think. If you call all you guys in your Sky Daddy, okay, I'm out. If that's how you think, I'm referencing God and the thousands of years of philosophical history, people trying to discover the transcendent, you're not worth my time. It is pearls before swine, but thank God we have a Bible that says, by the way, if that's what you're dealing with, shake the dust off your feet. On. You don't have to engage somebody who is uninterested in thinking, not is interested but just can't get it. That's different. You're trying to educate. Yeah. But if it's like they have no interest in it, they've made up their mind, you're wasting your time. And so if I was to say to them, there is no meaning to life if you're right. And most atheists, from Nietzsche to Russell, were nihilists, because that's the only conclusion it can mean. If we're here by accident and we are just molecules in motion, no different than this microphone or this table, we're just here and there's no purpose, and we're going to die and move into eternal oblivion, then why do anything? Eat, drink, and be merry.
That's the one, the argument that's always made, too. I feel like they'll go, no. It's obvious that, we should still have laws. We should still have morals. It's like, is it, though? Like, it's not intellectually honest. But that's the
point. That's what I mean by not thinking. They're not realizing that if you want to say that instinctively, or the only motivation power they have is survival. That's what Darwinism is based on. Survival makes us go do A, B, and C, and D. It's like, wait a minute, stop. Yeah. Justify the value of surviving. Yeah. Why is that? Who cares?
To live one more day.
Who cares?
Is that it?
You're moving into eternal oblivion. Yeah, but one day We might learn how to take your consciousness and put it onto a hard drive and keep you alive for forever. So there you go. So wait a minute. Is the universe going to remain forever in existence, or is there going to be a heat death that eventually causes the entire universe to collapse
So you're
and
gonna die
disappear?
anyway.
And I don't care if you live 10 billion years, eventually it's all gone and nobody knows you're here. So that's what I'm pointing. So what's the point? And they can't grasp that. No, we just make meaning for ourselves. No, that's my point. I'm talking about the meta-narrative. I'm talking about the novel.
Yeah.
The model, the beginning, middle, end. You want to add a chapter and say, but the chapter is all that matters. It's my little chapter. And I said, but I'm talking about if the novel burns, your chapter's gone too.
Yeah.
If I was in an elevator and it breaks and it's hurtling to the ground and all the way down, I say, I've just figured out the cure for cancer. I know how to cure cancer. And I told everybody in the elevator. I figured it out.
Yeah.
Did it
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's what you are. You're in the hurtling elevator.
Yeah.
And you're pretending that it has matter. Matter of fact, you've reached the point where you say to yourself, life doesn't have any intrinsic meta value, so just take the little value you give it along the way.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
Just make your own little thing while you're there.
It comes back to pleasure. It comes
back might as well
to
just take what you got
selfishness.
while you're there, and that's all you get, but that's okay. You might as well do that. And I said, no, that's inconsistent. That's incoherent. You are behaving as though it has meaning, because if you don't, you cannot function as a human. You're stealing from theistic, transcendent belief that there is value at the end of all this to keep this journey alive, and you don't acknowledge it. And that's on you, and that's why the great horror of hell is you chose it.
So one of the things that I love about you is you've spoken into...
There should be lots of stuff.
Well, I said only one,
but there's got to be tons. I'll bet you got a list that... If all of the love you had for me, there wouldn't be enough books.
I know. I put those books in two giant suitcases today in the back of my car, and it was bulldogging all the way here. The whole rear axle was dragging because the books were so big and heavy. One of the things I love that you've talked about is on the subject of apologizing for being a male, or apologizing for the existence of us being a male, which has been kind of glorified, that idea. I saw you say somewhere that men need to quit apologizing for existing.
Oh, of course.
Okay, go.
Well, but that's just agency, all right? That's just if you are a cognizant human being that exist, and you're a Christ follower. Now, you don't have to be a Christ follower to find dignity in your existence. You just need to know that comes from Christianity, just so you understand why you have that perspective. It's not intrinsic in your nature to think that everybody's equal or whatever. That's just a concept. You can't justify that, especially if you're a neo-Darwinist that believes in a closed system and that there is no immutable truths. If you believe that, then this is all cultural conventions. You're just making crap up on the fly, and that's fine. Maybe it works, and you can do that. People do, but please don't pretend that you have some deep, sacred, holy script that needs to be passed on, because you can't justify it. And I'm going to demand you do just that. Try to prove that life can have value without an engineer, without an author that put all the game into place. That is transcendent of human. That's the key. It has to come from somewhere else. If it comes from humans, it can be taken away by humans. If I make a law as a human, say this is the rule the way I want to rule it, and you can come in with a bigger, stronger axe than me, you make the rules. That's the survival of the fittest. Nature is red in tooth and claw. perspective that might makes right, and there is no moral compunction to do anything but survive. That's what you believe. And yet we don't live like that.
Mm-hmm.
See, part of why I think you need to, or how to analyze a philosophy is not just how does it work, but why does it work, and does it bring fruit to a culture? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know, let's say it's Marxism, let's say it's capitalism, let's say it's Christianity, let's say it's Buddhism, let's say, you walk it out to its conclusion and say to yourself, how does it affect the world too? You know, how does it have a meaning that appears to be more productive, and more value comes from it, more goodness comes from it, and whatever. Now, again, the atheist will say that is an evolutionary counterfeit of morality. The most good for the most people. That's what kind of they go by. Does it cause human flourishing? And that's how we define it as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to them, once again, that doesn't work, because if I'm stronger than you, and to me to flourish means to take your wife and rape her because I want that. Right. I'm going to kill you so you're out of the way, eating your food, taking your kids, turn them into slaves so I can keep producing. I can do it, and you can't do jack about it. It's not wrong. I won.
Yeah, might makes right.
Or we believe there's something else. There's something more beautiful about my existence that can choose to be kind, can choose to sacrifice for the sake of somebody else. This idea of beauty and the sacred, and to be a man, for example, to be a warrior, to be courageous. What's the atomic weight of courage? Yeah. How about virtue? What color is virtue? What's it taste like? Yet we all believe in courage and think it's noble and worth hanging on to. We all believe in nobility, but we can't find it in a test tube or a petri dish. These ideas are transcendent. They are not in nature or defined in the material world. There's something else, and yet we think they are worth striving for and giving our lives to. Our material world, our material life, our biological life, to these ideas like there's something else, because that's what God gave us, to give ourselves a sacred presence. And Christianity teaches it's because you're made in the image of God. This is unbelievable. And if you are a man, you were made first. Does that mean you're better than women? No. It just simply means God made us first. That's how the Genesis story goes. But then it said you were lacking a partner, named all the animals, wasn't good enough. And then he made a woman, and she completed you, so she's made in the image of God as well. Obviously, God is male and female because he split us in half and said they were both made in his image. So I guess he's both, and we come together. So in no way is masculinity mean that you demean women, or that you hold them in contempt, or that they are your servant. But no good man thinks of them that way.
Right.
We want to protect them.
Right.
We want to provide. It gives us great joy to think, I gave you a house, babe. You know? Yeah. It's a cave, right? That's all the house is. It's just protection. A hole with a cave around it. Yeah. I gave you a cave, and I gave you food, and I took care of you, and we get great joy in that. Well, why don't women get joy in protecting and defending and feeding us? Because they don't. It's never worked like that in human history. Men do certain things for the women, and they do certain things for us. So the point is quite simple. If you're a man, you are given this beautiful honor to do hard things for women, for children, for society. And the truth is, you can sit there and complain and try to play there's no gender and all this nonsense that's trying to destroy that uniqueness. I say, but let's play it out in real time. Who is out in building the skyscraper at 5 a.m. in the freezing cold, 20 below zero in Chicago? Women or men? Men are the ones that are building them. Men are the ones that are going to war. Men are the ones that created the United States. Men are the ones that fight against in warfare. Men are historically the ones that have done the hard work that created the hard things. That's just true.
Yeah.
You don't have to go any further than reading the stories of those who came before us to realize you are of that lineage. You're a man, and we have done amazing things. Done evil things too. But who stopped the evil? Men. So when a man goes off kilter and starts trying to be abusive and leverage his masculinity and his strength to be evil, man comes in to say, nope, out of balance. That's all God is here for. All God does in his creator is balance. He wants to keep things in balance. Once it gets out of balance, somebody has to right the ship. And that's what a man of honor does.
I think you could make the case that a man who is representing, who believes that he's made in the image of God, is a man who is probably doing the good that you're describing.
Yeah.
It's when that man rejects that in some way that he's probably doing the evil that you're describing.
And that normally comes out of pride, narcissism, a sense of getting what he desires, what he wants.
I'll be my own God.
Yeah. And by the way, that's original sin, pride, and it's the sin that God said he hates the most. It's not homosexuality. It's not murder. It's not I hate pride. Why? Because every single sin comes from pride. Every one of them. I get to murder that guy because I get to choose who lives and dies. Pride. I get to have sex with whoever I want because I desire it.
Gay pride.
Well, interesting that people would create a moniker
Embrace
that they
pride.
find as great when God said, be very, very careful with that. Because I despise pride, because pride is worship of self. It is systemic narcissism. Now listen, so if you are a man, you should be proud that you were created to be this warrior. And just so you know, by the way, if you're out there going, oh yeah, well, I'm kind of not strong. I'm kind of a weak guy. I mean, I'm not very strong, and I'm kind of a nerd, and I kind of am more of a tech nerd, and I love doing computers, and I'm a gamer, and I'm not, and I've been bullied and whatever, and all I'm good at is designing things and whatever. And say, hey, dude, guess what? You are a warrior with your mind. When I talk about men and their strength and their masculinity, it doesn't just mean you got a gun rack in the back of your truck. That's one way. Or that you're a great athlete. That's one way. All athletics is, by the way, is a recreation in a safe way of warfare. That's all it is. It's just warfare and war games where nobody hopefully is killed. So I just wanted, for those of you out there who feel like, man, I'm not good at that, or my dad, wanted me to be a star athlete, and I'm no good at it. I feel bad about that. And it's like, dude, your gift is enough. Whatever you're good at is what you were given.
Love
That's yours.
So great.
Run with that thing. Now,
Yes,
if your
run with
dad wanted you to be something else and he demeaned you for that, I'm sorry for that.
Right.
That I'm sorry for.
Yes,
and there's nothing I can do to fix that. There's no scripture verse to make it better. I mean, I can give you some that are true.
Right.
And that can give you some spiritual help. But if you were abused and treated, or you still are, I can't make that go away. What I can do is tell you that your dad is flawed, and very, very likely, if he's abusive and evil, it happened to him. He's just repeating the pattern. He doesn't know what to do because he wasn't mentored or he wasn't given a pattern that was healthy for him. I'm not making excuses if you're being abused at all. And if you need to get away, then you need to if your life's in jeopardy. But if it's just simply a matter of I wish it was better and I wish it was, here's all I can tell you. What Christianity gives you is a heavenly Father, and He's perfect. And He tells you who you are.
Amen.
And He said, well done, son. Just do with what I've given you. And by the way, He's with you. He's with you in the pain, and He understands, and he knows it's hard. And some of you, I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear. I don't know why you're going through what you're going through. I don't have an answer. I can't sit there and say, here's the answer. Boom, boom. Oh, I'm better now. I can't. Some guys have a better life, or at least what feels easier and safer. And I'm just trying to be real with you. Part of being a true Christ follower is authentic enough to say there's some crap out there that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And I wish it can go away, and it ain't going to. And you might have to endure something that you don't deserve. I will tell you that. And I don't know why. I don't have an answer. I will say this. You are on this earth for a very short time, but the moment you were conceived, you became immortal. See, everybody you will ever meet in your lifetime, we have one thing in common: we're terminally ill. The moment you were conceived, you started to die. But here's the interesting thing. You live forever. You live forever. Not in a flesh form, your spirit does. So you need to, and it's not going to necessarily make it easier, but it should give you some hope. You're going to die. I'm going to die. It is a guarantee.
10 out of 10, huh?
Yeah. And so if somebody came to you and said, listen, you're going to have some really rough times. It's going to hurt. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be, and it's just, you're going to not think you're going to get through it. And it's going to last for 20 years. And it's just going to feel unbearable. But you're going to get through it. And then I've got a mansion for you. It's in Maui. It's a 20,000 square feet. You're going to have your own yachts, your own boat. It's going to last forever. And every day is going to be new. So you're never going to get bored because it's going to be changed every time. Well, I'm going to get bored. No, you're not, because you're talking about
Every
the
morning
creator.
you wake up, your room's a different color.
It's brand new. It's always brand new, man. Or if you like it this color, it'll be that way too. You'll get exactly what most is there for your particular reason that you exist, that's unique, and a thumbprint that God has given to you. In other words, if everything you hoped would happen to you one day is going to come, would you accept it then? Yeah, it's going to suck, but yeah, okay. So you're saying, will you trade 50 years, 20 years for eternity in perfection? Who wouldn't do that? Guess what? That's exactly what God's offering. It's real. So pray, ask God for strength, for courage, show you some ways out. But I got to tell you something, buddy, and this is the hard truth. There are plenty of Christians in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, China, Haiti, Cuba, Myanmar, Turks and Caicos, India, Nigeria, Somalia, Uganda, Congo, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt,
I'm just impressed
Syria,
with your geography right
Algeria.
I know, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm
Saudi
tracking with you.
Arabia.
So true.
I mean, all over the world, China, North Korea, all over the world who are going, listen, we're praying for God to help us, and we died.
now.
They killed my son. They took my daughter and sold her to some dude. You don't think they're going,
Yeah.
anytime you want to jump in,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And some of us won't experience that. But frankly, the most persecuted people, religious people group on earth are Christians.
Yeah.
And have been for quite a few years. And this is the hard truth, man, out there. And I'm talking to you, I don't care if you're 10 years old. God said, this is going to be hard. That's the point. I'm not kidding. Count the cost. It will be worth it. And ask yourself, what have I ever achieved? Great things I ever achieved in my life that was easy.
Nothing.
Anything that I ever achieved that was really, when I got there, I said, that's what I longed for. That was easy. Nothing. You will always grow more from pain than pleasure. Always. That's the way it works. Our real growth, our real life-changing, miraculous, unbelievable change comes through trauma. It's the way it works. It sucks, but that's because we live in a fallen world. Find yourself some friends. Find yourself a church where youth pastor, somebody perhaps that can help you and fight with you and love on you and everything. But I promise, there is, when you accept Jesus, there is a completion to this thing. And the second you step into that space, you go, oh, that was nothing compared to this. I'll take that trade any day. Doesn't make it easier, but it's true. Rest in it.
Amen, man. Thank you, Brad. The trauma and as soon as we were born, we began to die. All of those things are just our awakening and existence to the thing the Scripture calls sin, the things that separate us from God. And you've said so many beautiful things here, and I love especially the end here where you just said that it's going to be hard. And man, I felt you, whew. And I thank you for doing that. I thank you for doing that. That was a giant reality check, and truth, and I know that it landed for many of you, and there's a beautiful awareness and a beautiful gift of hearing truth like that, isn't there? And the beautifulest piece of that, the payoff, the end of the day, the 20-year, the 50-year, the Maui, the this and that we were speaking of, is that we get to spend our life here when we come to Christ, walking with our good Father, knowing that the resistance of those weights are building strength, and He is with us. There is no doubt it's hard. And but we have a good Father that's here walking with us, guiding us, leading us, healing us, pushing us, probing us, pointing us, and he never stops. He never stops. And if you've never asked Him, God, I want you to be my good dad, starting today, you can do that. I'm going to say a 2 or 3 sentence prayer, and if you'd like to follow me, you can. And then I'm going to offer you some great things thereafter. Pray with me now, You say, dear God, step out of heaven and into my heart. Thank you for sending your son, Jesus. And I ask him to come into my heart and live forever. Thank you for dying on the cross for me. I accept my forgiveness by your payment. I want to serve you the rest of my life. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you've prayed that prayer, you have a new life starting today. As Brad said, we live forever. You're at one place or the other. Your place, my friend, is walking with Jesus here on this earth, starting now and forever, for eternity. We thank you, guys. This is huge what you just did. Very, very big. That was a beautiful moment. And it was also kind of easy, wasn't it? Because God, you took the key that God handed you. It's a beautiful key. That's pretty easy, considering the options. The hard part can be like continuing to grow, continue to hold on to that key, continuing to walk, continue to keep your yes on the table. And so we have things for you to offer. They're beautifully free, of course. You can go to our website, and what these things do are they are growth paths, okay? They're hand-tested tools, I like to call them. Things that will help you grow in Christ so you can look more like Jesus instead of just talking about him, instead of just admiring him, instead of only reading about him. You're going to start looking like him and sounding like him and talking about him and acting like him. So that doesn't just happen by a magic turn of a simple key. You keep turning that key, buddy. Keep turning that key. And you can go to our website at standupdude.com/stand. Standupdude.com/stand. Let us know. You'll see it right there. There's growth paths for you. We love you, and we're here for you. There's all kind of ways to get involved, but I think I'm going to leave it with that today. Share this episode with people that you know need to hear truth, and truth is beautiful because it's true. And we love you, and thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being here with us, Brad. Thanks for bringing the truth, and we love you guys. Amen.
See you later.